Spring is coming, this I know, for the robin told me so. Flowers and grass are going to grow. Winter goes with ice and snow. That was my first published work in the Youngstown Vindicator. I was in the 4th grade. And now here I stand tonight with an award named after me, the Simeon Booker Award for Courage. Courage for reporting. I never would have fathomed such. I knew from an early age that I wanted to write. Teaching and preaching were the best advances for us in that time. But I knew I wanted to write. Even thinking back on my early days here in Youngstown, my father was the director for the Black YMCA on West Federal Street. You know it now as the Rescue Mission, but my father built that. In fact, that's why we came here. We came here specifically for that project. Now, the Black YMCA was a source of black culture and pride. And on Sundays, we'd have forums discussing the issues facing African Americans and conversations about what it was that we could do to help move us forward. Some of the most prolific voices, African American voices of the time, came through those doors and led those discussions. Tonight's award recipient and my good friend Nathaniel, Judge Nathaniel Jones officially, took part in those discussions. You could find us there on most Sundays. It was discussions such as those that inspired the demonstrations that you saw around the city, like the one at the Whites Only pool. I would go there with my notepad and camera and capture in real time, in real moments, the pain, plight, and progress of our actions. Oh, we had some vinegar in us then. It was that vinegar that led me to leave Youngstown. You see, I was a student at Youngstown College, and although we were admitted, we were not equal. I couldn't even get an activities card. Well, I wasn't going to stand for it. I told you that my father was the director for the Black YMCA, but he was also the pastor for Third Baptist Church. And of all those who didn't approve of my style, my father's voice resonated the loudest. He told me asked me, who was I to interfere with the structure that he had set up? He told me that I was to either agree or go elsewhere. I chose to go elsewhere. Virginia Union College. And that, for the most part, was the end of my time in Youngstown. Becoming the first full-time black reporter for the Washington Post was nice until I realized that my stories were going to be buried in the back of the classified ads. I knew that if I wanted to reach a larger audience, that I needed to work for a place that would provide me the opportunity and space to communicate these stories. So I moved to Chicago. And began working for Jet Magazine. Jet Magazine was the place. I went there to become more involved in the civil rights movement and to cover some of the most horrific murders our people were encountering. Now, I had never heard the name Emmett Till. And when I did, it changed my life forever. Now, I know many of you are familiar with the story of Emmett Till, a young man savagely and brutally kidnapped, beaten, and murdered for allegedly whistling at a white woman. I still remember that day that Mimi Till saw her son's body for the first time. They wanted to have a closed casket. But she said, "I want the world to see what they did to my baby." And she asked me to help. So we published the images of Emmett Till's body in Jet Magazine, and we knew the response would be great. We printed extra copies. They say that the coverage of the Emmett Till murder and trial helped to mobilize support in the South for the civil rights movement. I just wanted people to know. As more people joined the movement, we found ourselves in the backwoods of every town and city in the South, sneaking in and out to report what was going on. I never let my picture be published with anything that I wrote. The people in the South could not know who I was. So anytime I left Chicago, my jet information stayed in my locker, and out came a Bible and a trench coat. It went perfect for my ruse as a preacher. For you see, to pose was to survive. For example, the freedom rides. Martin Luther King told me that we were going to be beaten. He said, "They'll waylay you before Alabama." I told him fear never produced progress. But he was right. The beatings, they came. You may have read about them. You may have even seen some of the pictures. They still talk about those first freedom rides. I played my part. I sat in the back of the bus like a good Negro reading my newspaper while the beatings took place, avoiding the conflict. But you see, in that newspaper, I had cut out a little hole so I could see everything that was going on. Because it was my job to report everything that happened and made sure everyone knew what was going on. And I made sure. Now, Martin and I had an interesting relationship. I wrote an article in 1959 challenging his voter registration efforts in Alabama. And he wrote a letter back to me and my boss saying that we had set back his efforts, that we had cost him money, that we had caused him embarrassment. Boy, he wrote long letters. But I had to be honest with myself first. Now, Martin's dead. JFK is dead. Medgar Evers, gone. Bobby Kennedy. I wanted to write a book about the 1960s. But how can I write a book if I don't know who's going to be dead next? Tonight is surreal. All of it. I never wanted to be honored for such. I was supposed to come back to Youngstown many years ago for a mayor's charity event. They told me that I couldn't speak about the city's hiring practices. I told them that I would. Guess who didn't come to dinner? I did, however, come back to speak at the university's commencement a few years ago. And I did receive that activities card they denied me almost 3/4 centuries before. Sometimes things do change. President Barack Obama, I believed it would happen. I just didn't think I would see it in my lifetime. My good friend Nate Jones called it a miracle. He said I had a lot to do with that. Well, thank you, Judge. But I don't know about that. Maybe. Who knows? I do know that the work was hard and slow and prolonged, and I'm not sure entirely successful. Why are we still on the lowest end of America's economic scale? Why are we the most imprisoned? Are the unarmed shootings of young black men accidents? There is so much more work to be done, despite how far we've come. Remember that book that I wanted to write about in the 1960s? Well, it's done. But at 98 years old, I'm not. But I know that I can't do it all over again, but you can. And I hope that each one of you in this building tonight recognizes and understands what our hosts for tonight know to be true. That there is so much more work to be done, and there will be for a while. And that is why they've done this tonight, for those that continue the fight, for those that continue to act, for those that continue to work. The Simeon Booker Award for Courage. I never would have thought. Spring is coming. This I know, for the robin told me so. Flowers and grass are going to grow. Winter goes with ice and snow.